to be able to change the trajectory of her life as far as her health was concerned. So I want you to welcome my good friend, Carolyn Russ.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. This has been so much fun. I've had so much fun putting this together. So I will start out by sharing my screen, but just to thank all of you. This has been an incredible series. I mean, I have pages and pages and pages of notes. So I am so grateful and so grateful that you invited me to be a part of it. And I hope that what I share today will be inspiring to all of you. So here we go. Have I shared the screen yet?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, okay. We'll start.
You want to, there you go.
So health is your wealth. And I want to invite you today to think about your investment, your portfolio, and how you could invest wisely. How many of you have some of these toys in your portfolio? Are you protected? How many of us have special doorbells? And look at all the different insurance options we get. Health insurance, life insurance, house insurance, all kinds of care insurance. And by all means, make sure nobody gets into your house that's not wanted, right? And so we have been building portfolios for ourselves for a long time. When did you start your retirement? When did you start planning for that? When we were young and first had kids, we were too poor to plan for retirement. We were just trying to survive day to day, right? And but then as life went on, we started really wanting to make sure that by the time we reached retirement, which for us is now, sort of for me, not so much, that we would have what we needed, right? But if you're not healthy, you can't enjoy your retirement. And so there's always this decision. Where am I going to put my pennies? Is it going to be with the W for wealth or the H for health? And yet, don't we all want to have this kind of vitality in our life every day? So we have 401ks, we have IRAs, but my question is, do you have an HRA, which is a health retirement account? Your health is an investment. It is not an expense. I can show you what expense looks like. But if you don't invest in your health, it will become an expense. And we want you to enjoy life and not have the expense of sickness. So I thought for business owners, this would be something that would be helpful to look at. And I was really interested in what I found. We can choose to invest in our health, or we can subsidize our illness. We're going to spend money one place or another, right? But what does sickness really cost? Well, if you're sick, you can't go to work, that's a problem. One of the other hats that I wear is we own rental property. And I'll never forget the young mom who she had an okay job. She could pay her rent on a regular basis, but her little girl got sick. And she ran out of vacation days and sick days and all that. And she couldn't pay her rent. And she felt terrible. And I felt terrible for her. And to know we did not evict her because we have a heart and you know, I could never have done that. But that was a real problem for her. And because her child was missing school and she was a single mom and she didn't have anybody else that could take care of her sick child. Have you ever woken up and gone, oh my gosh, I have this incredibly important meeting today and I feel terrible? You know, all of a sudden my nose is running. Now this does not happen to me very much anymore. And I get really kind of aggravated if it does, because I'm so used to not having colds and flus and stuff like that anymore. But my husband traveled for corporate America. 6 a.m. is when you leave on a flight out of Dayton to go anywhere, right? And if he wasn't feeling well and he had to go do this incredible pitch to whoever gigantic corporate company he was talking to, that was a problem. So there's also, we spend money for our insurance, doesn't cover everything. What's a sick visit cost? And then there's catastrophic illness. And I should have put one more thing in here. Catastrophic illness isn't just time and money, but there is a huge emotional expense when there's a catastrophic illness. And the top three are cancer, cardiovascular, and diabetes. Actually, cardiovascular is the number one cause of death in this country. But just start with something little like a cold. That's 8 to 14 days that you're not going to be at your peak performance. So I just thought I'd toss these slides in here real quick. The good news is 95% of chronic disease is preventable, but we're spending $327 billion a year in this country on diabetes alone. And sudden death is the first symptom of 50% of all heart attacks. And I don't like that bottom statistic. 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men will be diagnosed with cancer in their lifetime. And since the 70s and the 80s, diabetes in kids has been on the increase, infertility is on the increase. Young moms don't tell when they first get pregnant. They wait until the pregnancy is viable and they've been pregnant 3 weeks before they spill the beans. Because of miscarriages. And then, I don't know if you've ever seen this little girl before, but her shirt says, "Find a cure before I get boobies." What I think we need to say is find prevention so we don't have to find a cure. So I want to tell you that I spent some time here at the Ohio State University this week on my annual oncology exam. And I want to tell you that I sweat bullets, even though I cheated. I'd already looked at my blood work. I knew I was okay. But I just don't like going into this place. I mean, look at how tall this tower is, full of cancer patients. Across the street, they're building 2 new buildings for more cancer patients. And even if you're diagnosed at stage 0, by the time you get all the testing to figure out that's where you are, you could have spent this much money, $72,000. And it gets worse as it goes forward. And so, well, I'm going to go back. So I'll share a little bit with you of my own story and why I'm so passionate about vitality. Because 15 years ago, I got the call from my mammogram saying, "We need you to come back. We think you flunked your mammogram." And I had. And that spoke more terror into my life than I can't even tell you. And so this whole process began. And I had dreams. I had stuff I wanted to accomplish. I also have an adult disabled child, and I have to be here for her for a really long time. And so there's no words, and maybe some of you have had that experience and can relate to what that emotional cost is. I wasn't a very good mom for a while. I had to focus on myself. One of the things I want to encourage women to do is I heard we had a meeting this morning, coffee talk, and somebody said how you always take care of your kids first, and that's true, but it will come back and bite you if you don't take care of yourself, okay? So I think everybody has dreams, and they want to not incur these kinds of experiences. So healthy living used to be pretty simple. You know, we had gardens, we planted stuff, we played outdoors. Do you remember drinking water out of a water hose? And we slept well, right? Well, here's what it looks like today. Not eating out of the garden so much anymore. And we're not playing outside so much anymore. And the beverage of choice is not water. And we're all tired, right? So why is that? Environmental toxins are increasing. You can take a look at that for yourself. But I want to focus on fruits and vegetables because experts agree that most diseases are preventable with good nutrition. And here's a multivitamin, here's an apple. Well, there's a few nutrients in a vitamin. They don't really play well with each other. There's no real synergy. but there are tens of thousands of phytonutrients in an apple. So I tell people, don't take a vitamin, go eat an apple or two. And these are conditions, and this is kind of where we are in this country, that are associated with whole food deficiencies. Alzheimer's is horrendous. My mother had Alzheimer's. It was awful. And so many autoimmune disorders in today's world. And you can look at the rest of the list. But you know who we need to really focus on? We need to be really thinking about teenagers right now because they're depressed. This pandemic situation has them very discouraged. And so if we could get a few more fruits and vegetables in them, you know, they might do better, at least according to US News. So food quality is decreasing. The food we get's not fresh. I'm going to kind of whip through these. The bad news is oxidative stress is what causes disease, but the good news is we can prevent it with more antioxidants. This side of the apple's rusting. This side of the apple was protected with antioxidants. And food is information. So we have to ask ourselves, what kind of food are we eating? And can we change our pharmacy? You know, let's go back to the farm. And so my oncologist told me at Ohio State, I needed to eat 7 to 13 fresh raw fruits and vegetables a day, every day. That's a little hard to do. And the problem was, it wasn't fresh. When we look at our families, sometimes we have picky eaters, and none of us can eat 7 to 13 fresh raw fruits and vegetables a day. But Tufts University research said last year, prescribing fruits and vegetables could save us $100 billion in medical costs. So these are the things we do to be healthy: exercise, sleep, manage stress. That's a huge thing right now. Drinking more water's hugely important, using safer products, and eating real food. So that's why, and this was on Time magazine, and I remember I've seen this, the front cover for years and years. The news, somebody wants in, Angie does. The news isn't that fruits and vegetables are good for you. It's they're so good for you that they could save your life. And what I want to tell you is nutrition is the only way to influence our health at a cellular level. Plants bring power to heal, sustain, and change our health. I didn't know this. I thought I ate healthy. I didn't eat bologna on white bread. And, but mostly what I ate was grains. Nobody told me the power of fruits and vegetables, or that that was something that I needed to do, to flood my body with fruits and vegetables every day. So I will tell you that when health is improved, your quality of life is improved. And this is what vitality is. It's the result of investing in your HRA. And any investment retirement advisor would tell you, start now. The earlier, the better. It's never too late to plan for vitality. What is vitality? It's exuberant physical strength or mental vigor, capacity for survival, having a purposeful existence, and the power to live and grow. And when I turned 71 this year, I went, that's what I want. And that's what I have. And I just feel so compelled to share that with other people. So just think, what's life for you in the next 5 years or more? What are your dreams? Wouldn't you like to be riding on a skateboard down the road? Or making sure you have lots of family time? Some of us might want to welcome new grandchildren into our family. What would you love to be able to see your kids and grandkids graduate, take family vacations, or dance with your daughter or granddaughter at their wedding? So what's nutrition got to do with it? I think it's got everything. You know, I know that sick care is not health care. Prevention's key. Investing with your health takes some time and dedication. It won't happen overnight. It's making one simple change at a time. But I want to encourage you to never, ever, ever give up on your pursuit of vitality, because it's possible. And that's one of our mottos, is that all things are possible. I absolutely believe that with all my heart. And that's what I can share with you today. I would invite you We've been growing this Facebook group called Vitality. Last month we did Croctober and had so much fun with that. And if you have questions and want to learn more about, how you could flood your body with more fruits and vegetables every day, I've got a simple solution for that. I would be glad to share with you, and I think I'll be able to share more about that next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. And can you put that in our chat feature as well, so people can
Oh, sure.
get your email information and also your Facebook group and your website?
Yeah, thanks.
That was awesome. There's a lot to think about, isn't it? Right? You want to grow with your business, but you want to be healthy. If you make all this money and you can't do, you can't spend it. You can't enjoy the fruits of your work labor because you're suffering from illness. So thank you, Carol, for that. I greatly appreciated that.
You're welcome.
So I'm going to ask Carol if she would introduce Brenda for us. And also, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat feature as well.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you very much, Carolyn Russ. That was a fabulous presentation. I absolutely loved, I loved your intro of, we all have a 401k and an IRA, but do we have an HRA? And never in my history of life have I thought of it in that way. So thank you so much for sharing the importance of health and vitality and how it does lead to wealth. So thank you so much. That was awesome. Now, next, I am really excited to introduce a very special lady. I have actually been working with her for several years now. She is on our success team here at Beautiful Faces Going Places and has facilitated so many workshops and presentations. She's a dynamo. She's a speaker, sales and business coach for entrepreneurs. She's also a trainer and an author and the CEO of Brenda Aveyard Coaching.com. Brenda has traveled extensively around the USA, training others to be successful in sales and in leadership. And she really helps her clients focus on prospecting, asking for the sale, that's the most difficult thing, and also the all too forgotten follow-up. She is a published author as well as the CEO of the Top Performance Business School. Please help me welcome Brenda Aveyard.
Hi, everybody. I'm so excited to be here with you today. I want to tell you, well, I'll tell you in a minute. But did you know that 74% of all salespeople do not know the best answers to their selling situations, opportunities, and barriers? They do not always know where they are in the sales process, what to say, what to do, or how to do it in a way that results in a sale. That's not my quote. That's Jeff Gittmer's quote. But let me tell you, it says it all about sales. People get stuck in the sales process. Do you all believe that? You can raise your hands. I can see you. Yeah. Okay. But they get stuck. They don't know what to do or where they are in that process. And one thing that I know for sure is that if you don't go after what you want, you'll never have it. If you do not ask, the question is always no. If you do not step forward, you're always in the same place. You see, you're in sales and you have to know where you're going. Now, this all sets us up for this wonderful PowerPoint presentation I have prepared today. However, things sometimes change. One thing with me during this COVID situation is I made a commitment that I was going to try to listen. Okay, listen to my intuition, listen to the universe, but I think God's just started talking directly to me because I was on a meeting. I was in the same meeting that Carolyn was in this morning and Lois was in it, who's going to talk next. And I want to tell you what happened. I got off of that phone and a voice inside of me said this: what you have prepared is not what they need to know. So I just spent the last 30 minutes writing a whole new thing, but I didn't have time to do a PowerPoint presentation because I just completed my cycle because of the topic. Well, not because of that, but the topic of our thing is getting to where we want to go next year or whatever. But you have to have a plan, and waiting to make that plan on New Year's Day or New Year's Eve day is too late. Because what happens is the activities that you do today are going to show up. Oh my gosh, I'm okay. I'm okay. Don't ask me. I did not fall. Okay. I don't know. My emergency thing went off of my watch. It's the ambulance would show up if I didn't do that on my Apple Watch, so I apologize. But we have to know where we're going and how to get there. So I just finished doing my plan of what I have to do for next year. And as of today, November the 6th, I already have my plan. I have a whiteboard on my wall. It has everything that I have to do for next year. It's already planned, it's done. So I start the activities now because it's about 90 days when you make changes that everything starts to happen. So by January, it's going to start to happen. Well, it already happened. Once I made the plan, the next conversation I had a sale. So what can I say? It really, really works. So what I want to talk to you about today is what is holding you back. And it may be that you don't understand that sales is math. Okay? It's math. You need to, I'm going to show you how this works. You need to know your numbers. Okay? You need to know the numbers in your business. You need to know them every day in every way. I do a lot of conversations with people, and I'll give you an opportunity to have a conversation with me later today. However, I want to share with you that I had a conversation with a young lady who had just started her business, probably 3 or 4 months, and she had one product line that she sold. And she signed up to have a conversation with me. And on the conversation, we talked about her business challenges and where we needed to go. And I said, I'm going to give you a gift. And she said, oh, okay. I don't know if she was looking for a Starbucks card or what it was, but I said, you told me that you have children. When they come home from school today, I want you to ask them for a piece of notebook paper out of their binder. And I want you to number them 1 to 31. Put it on the lines on the page, 1 to 31. Now, what I want you to do next is I want you to start writing down by the number, the day of the month, what your sales were for that day. Now, I've looked at who y'all are, and y'all are in sales. Some of you may work for corporations, but you're still in sales. I don't care. The person who answers the telephone is in sales or the first contact with the company. So you have to put yourself in a situation. If not, use this formula for your bills or for your spending, whatever. But you have to know what your numbers are. So I told her to do that. I ran into her 6 months later at a networking event, and she came up to me and she said, hi, Brenda, do you remember me? And I said, yes, Mary. That's what I call everybody because I can't use their names. I said, yes, Mary, I do remember you. She said, but can I talk to you after the meeting? I said, you certainly can. I said, I have a table, I have to tear it down, but as soon as I get done, oh, I'll wait, she said. And I said, okay. So she says to me, I get done and I go over and we sit down, and she looked at me and she said, do you remember our call? I said, I remember it. I remember it completely. She said, and do you remember the gift you gave me? I said, yeah, I told you to take a piece of paper, number it 1 to 31, and write down your sales every day. She said, you did. She said, that I thought that was the stupidest thing anybody ever told me to do. And I'm like, okay, tell me more. I thought, this isn't starting out really well. And she said, well, she said, I just thought that you were going to give me something that would do me more good than that. And I said, okay, tell me more. She said, well, I didn't do it. And she said, 2.5 weeks went by. She said, I can remember it clearly. And she said, I wasn't selling anything. And I thought, well, you know, maybe I should do what Brenda told me. Maybe I should start writing down my sales for the day. She had a product that she could trace. So she said, I started writing it down. She said, after about 5 days, she said, I remember you said, if you don't have any sales that day, you need to write down 0. She said, I felt so bad writing down a 0 that I started, if I didn't have a sale, I started making phone calls to get one before the end of the day, just because I didn't want to write down 0. She said, so what happened is, she said, I have things inside consignment shops that are selling for me. And at noon, if I hadn't heard anything, I would call and say, what are my sales for today? 0. Ring, ring. What are my sales today? 0. So I started getting on the phone and making those calls that we talked about. And she said, I didn't stop until I sold something. And I could write down the number. She said, an amazing thing happened to me, Brenda. She said, it was like a month. Within a month, my sales had almost tripled because I knew what was coming in. I said, yes, because sales is math. It's absolutely math. You have to know what you're making. That encourages you not to go through a slump. She said, I wanted to tell you today that I don't have 1 line. I now have 4 lines. I have a home line. I have a jewelry line, and I've added a line of motivational quotes that you can hang on your wall. She said that was all because I started writing things down on a piece of notebook paper. I said, congratulations. So, but do you see where it raises your awareness? And when we start making our plans for next year, it's great to say, I'm going to make more phone calls this year. But if you don't know what you have to do or what your result is going to be, you don't know how many phone calls you have to make. Is that correct? Okay, so let's finish the numbers thing. So next week, I will work you guys through doing this, but I want you to start doing this in your business this week. And next Friday, I'll have some forms for you, and we're really going to work it out. At the end of that month, you transfer it to a monthly sheet, and that gives you your gross revenue. I do gross revenue, because you can determine how much you're going to keep as profit, but gross revenue for that month. And you go back a couple of years, you build a 3-year history of what revenue that you've generated. So here on one page, you have the opportunity to actually see if your business is growing, or if your business is shrinking. And you'll also see that every business is cyclical. You have some months that are really strong every year, and you have some months that are a challenge and they are lower in revenue. So you'll see where the peaks and valleys are, and when you know where they are, you can budget for them, but you can also go outside of the box, and you can start coming up with creative changes to make, or adding a new product, or adding a new service that you can roll out during that slow time. But you don't know if you don't know the numbers. This takes you from a day to 3 years. I have it on a piece of paper. I fill it out at the end of every month, every day, and it just becomes my history. It's my history. You have to know where you've been before you can determine where you need to go. So let's go back to knowing what else we've done. We need to track and know the sales conversations that we have, whether you're selling a product or you're selling your service. Some of us sell services. I sell services. Some of you sell products. But you have to know how many presentations you have done and how many sales you have made every month. What happens at that point is you know what your conversion rate is. So if you do 30 sales presentations in that month, appointments face-to-face, where you actually ask someone to buy your product or service, and you sell your product or service to 3 people, you have a 10% conversion rate. Hold on to that. We'll work with 10% because that's easy. You have a 10% conversion rate. Then what you do is you track that, your percentage, every month. Then when you decide how much money you want to make the next month, you can take the sales that you've made, total them together, divide them by the number of people or companies that purchased, and you know what your average sale is. So you take your average sale by the amount of money you want to make the next month, subtract what you're doing now, and it tells you what you have to do. So let's say I want to increase my revenue by $3,000. Say I have a $1,000 product that I'm selling. If I'm selling 10% and I want to make $3,000 more, I have to get 3 more clients, correct? I know because last month I did 30 conversations and I got 3 clients. I know that I'm going to need to do 30 more conversations in order to get 3 people to say yes. Are you with me? Shake your head if you're with me. Okay, you have to get 30 more conversations. If you think, well, I did 30 conversations last month and I had plenty of time, I could have done 40, you can make $1,000 more. And that's what you have to know before you go to plan out your year for the following year. So business is math. I was going to do the 7 steps of the sales process, but in 20 minutes, I can't do that justice. But I can do this. So what I want you to do over this next week until our finale, when we speak next week, is I want you to start charting your revenue every day. Start adding it to what you did last month. Go ahead and start your column, and I'll send you some papers that will help you do that in an easier way. I want you to start tracking how many sales conversations that you have. If you're selling a product, say in direct sales, like cosmetics, I always use cosmetics because I was a senior sales director with Mary Kay, so I can relate to that. So if you have a conversation with 30 people and 3 people buy a skincare set, whatever that skincare set is, that's how many people you need to talk to. So start doing that, tracking your sales presentations along with the number of people who bought from you. Now that's only the number of people that you asked to buy. You have to ask them before that qualifies. It's not what some people do where you get to the end of the sales conversation and you say, well, so I hope that you like that. Why don't we chat next week and you think about that, and that doesn't count. You have to ask. You have to ask for the sale. I have a program that I do. It's called Get Your Ask in Gear, ASK. I love that. Get your ask in gear. So where your focus goes is where your energy flows, is what Tony Robbins says. And your actions determine what your results are going to be. And everything starts with making a decision. I recommend to you that you make a decision to do your plan for next year, this year. If you could see my whiteboard, you would see exactly how I did it. I'm a coach. I determined how many clients I need for next year to make the amount of revenue that I am determining that I am going to make. So I go back to the sales conversations, and knowing what my conversion rate is for this year tells me how many clients I need to have, conversations to sales, to do that. I have 3 products. I know I decided because of the time that I want to have available for me to live a life, I have determined how many participants I want in each of those programs. And I built a revenue mountain out of that. So I know that if I do this many in this program, this many in this program, and this many in this program, it will give me the result of what I want to make next year. It's kind of like we're taking our activities that we have to do to produce revenue and we're building our goal backwards. I hope you were with me because I just wrote half of my new program and half an hour before this call. And next week, we're going to actually build yours. So Carol, you'll be sending something out this week, right?
Yes,
About that?
absolutely.
And
Yes,
I'll get you the papers and you can send it to them by email.
yes,
So
perfect.
if you have a question, just ask me. I can take a short question if you have a question right now. Anybody totally confused? I'm going to put my information in the chat. It will have my website and my phone number, and I'm going to give you an opportunity if you'd like to talk to me more about that or about your #1 business challenge, that you can go directly into my calendar and schedule that. Even if you've had one before, because I've had them with some of you before, I welcome you to schedule a time with me. I have my phone number in there. It's my cell. You can text me if you're confused. I'll be more than happy to help you getting ready for next week. And I can't wait to see you next week. You know, what I want you to remember is not to think anything about what you can't do. I want you to think of one phrase this week. You can end a story.
Thank you so much, Brenda. This was fabulous. I absolutely love your energy and I love your strategy. And you're absolutely right. We are in the business of sales, whether it's products, goods, or services. We do need to have a plan, an action plan, and it is all about numbers and it is about math. I love your approach and we cannot wait to receive the worksheets to get started for next week and really start planning for 2021. So fantastic. Thank you so much, Brenda.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it, and I'm getting to meet some new people online, and I'm grateful for that.
Awesome. So Pamela, do you want to introduce our next speaker, or would you like for me to? All right. Well, we're all putting on our game face here. You know, this is we're on week number 4, and it is the 4th quarter comeback realign. So
Yes.
I'm really super excited to introduce Lois Elrich. She is the president and owner of Real Change Business Coaching. She's a professional certified coach and based out of Dayton, and she owns and operates her coaching practice. And she's also a facilitator at Aileron. I don't know if you're familiar with Aileron out of Dayton. It's a fabulous facility all about leadership and helping corporations and small to medium-sized businesses. So she helps with becoming a more conscious leader program there at Aileron. And I hope you all received her worksheet, which was all about the story in your mind. So please help me welcome Lois Elrich.
Hello, everyone. First off, I want to say thank you for having me here. And Carolyn and Brenda, I've got all kinds of notes. It's just so good to hear other people, their point of view, their area of expertise. And I wrote down Health Bank, how important that is. And with Brenda, I wrote down tracking conversations. That stood out for me so big because I was like, how many phone calls do I make? How many times do I pick up that phone? And it really kind of ties into what I'm going to go over today is the story in my head, because there's all kinds of stories that could come with that. I don't have time to pick up the phone. What will I say? You know, how do I respond? I mean, there's so many things that we could talk ourselves out of doing based off of our mindset. So I've got a PowerPoint, and what I'm gonna do is share, if I can get this on the beginning. There we go. I'm gonna go through these series of questions telling you my story. And then you've got the paper, if you downloaded it, you can follow along and track yourself where you might be creating a story in your mind that's not true or that you believe to be true, and how that story is forming your world and your view. And then if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. So here we go. So for me, about 6 years ago, so I'll back it up a little bit. My husband and I also own a business that started back in 1999. And about 15 years into that business, I was feeling very overwhelmed. I was feeling like things would never change. And that was the story I kept telling myself. Things aren't going to change. No matter how hard I try, things don't change. And then I was also feeling inside, I was feeling very guilty for how I was feeling. Because on the outside, people would look at me and say, wow, you know, you've got it. You own a business. You can come and go if you need to. All these things. But internally, the story I was telling myself was, things will never change. The team looked so busy, I was afraid to delegate. So the stories I was telling myself was actually hurting me and the business. So I was afraid to delegate. Everyone looked too busy. And what I learned from that was people will stay busy. You know, you show up to work, you've got 8 hours, and they're going to fill that time up doing something. So in my mind, I felt like I couldn't delegate. I couldn't do any of that type of work. And so that was really hurting the business. And not only did it hurt the business, it was hurting the team that I was leading, because I wasn't giving them an opportunity to try new things. So, and I have a whole bunch of other stories I was telling myself too back then. And I really didn't realize the impact that it was having on me. So that story that I was telling myself, how did it make me feel? Like I mentioned, it made me feel guilty. It made me not want to do things. It made me feel helpless. It certainly wasn't helping me find solutions or change things. And from that feeling, that's the action that I took was nothing. I didn't delegate. I didn't tell anyone what was going on. I was too afraid to share my story. What would people think about me? I was spending a lot of time up in here by myself, which isn't always a good place to be, depending on the story you tell yourself. So from that, for me, where did that story take me? How did that feeling make me feel? And that's what happens. All the stories that we have, they take us someplace. They make us feel a certain way. They become our reality. And so for me, it really led me down a dead-end road because I wasn't willing to make changes. But then what I learned through coaching was it was me that was holding myself back. And I didn't realize that until I started examining my own thoughts and my values and my beliefs. And so what I've learned is your reality, the stories you tell yourself, will become your reality. It is we have the most powerful gift. Every one of us has it, and no one can take it away from us. And it's our thoughts and our feelings. We get to control those things. And I learned, I would even catch myself saying things like, well, that can't be done. When I started shifting my language and removing the word can't to can, everything just started changing. Everything became possible. So it really is, your mindset will determine your success. So these past 3 weeks, we've been learning a lot. And maybe sometimes we're asking ourselves, you know, how am I going to do all that? How am I going to fit it all in? Based on the story you tell yourself, it will be your reality. And since then, I am quite good at delegating. We've been able to grow our other business we've now got 20 employees. I've got my own coaching business now, and I work with Aileron on a regular basis. I'm one of their lead coaches. And now what I do is I focus on helping other people examine their own thought patterns. You know, what behaviors do you have? What are your thought behaviors? What are the things you continue to tell yourself? And I've learned that every time, so how many times have you experienced a negative event? Anyone in our group ever experienced a negative event and then you rethink about it and you tell yourself all the things you're going to tell someone when you get that opportunity again? Well, every time you do that, so the first time when you have a negative event, first time that happens, your body responds to that and your brain sends out cortisol, which we know, Carolyn, is not good for our health. Cortisol and cortisone will eat away at our health. But every time you relive that thought, that event, your brain does not know it's not true. It doesn't know it's not happening again. And your brain sends that right back out to you again. So it's teaching, that's what I do now, is I teach people to think about, what are you telling yourself? How true is it? Where did it come from? And where is that taking you? And so that's what I do with all my time now. I do it in my leadership coaching. I do it in our business. I help people examine those thoughts. The stories we tell ourselves about the people we work with is either going to help us grow our business or hold our business back. No one shows up to work wanting to do a bad job. It's the systems that we work in that can create those bad behaviors. So it really is, in your worksheet, I would encourage you between now and next week to be thinking about, you know, what are some of the stories I'm telling myself? And how are those stories making me feel? And the way I feel is going to determine my action. And if you examine that for a while, you might see some patterns. And what's really cool is you can change that. People say you can't change, you can change. And when we let go of all these stories that we tell ourselves about, I'm not good enough, I can't do this can't be done, that's when we get to step into our true authentic self. That's when we get to be the person we were designed to be, when we let go of all these stories. So when we get together next week, I've got a series of questions. It's called the 12 Self-Discoveries. And it's those self-discoveries, that internal dialogue, our values and our beliefs that we'll be looking at, that is going to help determine the success of our companies and ourselves and our happiness. So the last thing I would like to say is for you to consider if you weren't telling yourself that story, what might be possible? So that's all that I have. And I thank you for allowing me to be here today.
Wow, that was
Wow.
incredible, Lois. Thank you so much. Very, very powerful and very insightful as we're preparing ourselves for 2021. And you're absolutely right. Your thoughts, your feelings, all of that establishes the stories that we tell ourselves that are holding us back. And if we truly understand the power that we have to change our thoughts, to change our feelings, we can change our stories and change our reality. So thank you, Lois. What you shared with us today was so powerful and so impactful. And I want to make sure that I include your worksheet along with this week's email and video replay training so that everyone has access to this incredible presentation that you shared with us. I'm going to go ahead and open this up for any feedback or Q&A for Lois.
You know, I want to add for feedback, Lois, is I was thinking, we don't think people can feel that energy because those thoughts we have, it's going to give off an energy. And so our clients and customers are going to feel that. They may not have all the pieces, but they're definitely going to feel that. And also our teams. So if we have staff or contract people or anyone that's around us to support our business, they're going to feel that. They're going to feel that uncertainty. They're going to feel that, you know, all those energy, that energy from those thoughts. And so it impedes how effective we are in our leadership.
Mm.
So,
and that is so true because emotions are transferable.
Mm-hmm.
The way you show up when you walk through that door, when you're talking with a client, when you're talking with an employee, they feel it. When someone smiles at you, have you ever noticed that you just smile back?
Yeah.
It's instinctive. So learning to understand the way you show up truly affects other people, and you have the opportunity to influence people and change them for the better just in the way that you show up. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I would love, if anybody would love to explore any stories that you might have and how we could create new stories that will get you to where you want to be. I'll put my information in the chat and I'm happy to talk with any of you.
Absolutely. This has been fabulous. This has been great. I feel we've gone the whole gamut today. We've gone to how our health is important and how that helps us show up every day with the energy, the physical energy we need to do the work that we want to do. And also our responsibility towards that and accountability towards our health. And also to Lois in our thought processes about how that can impede us from being able to do those things that Brenda told us that we need to do, that we can have a better day, a better month, a better quarter, and a better year, and how to track that. And I think when we're not in the right space, then we'll put that head in the sand, bury it, cover our heads, and not look at those numbers, right? And so that's all has been just great. So this is fourth quarter comeback. So if we've been doing any of those things, guess what? It's fourth quarter comeback. So we can rethink those things and recharge. This is what this is all about before we go into, and like she said, you should be working on this now. So when I worked for Functional Formularies, I didn't wait to January. The fourth quarter is when I wrote out our strategy for the next year. I knew where we were going, who we were talking to, who I was sending, what was the end result, what audiences I was going to, what targets I wanted to expand to. All of that was decided. We knew that. And so when I got time ready to go home for Thanksgiving, I didn't have that on my mind. I had already done that work. That work was already done. I knew if I was going to be in the inside cover of the publication for the trade show in September of the next year, I already had that secured. Already, I knew how much money I had to do that. and the staff and the team that I had to do it with. I knew what we were going to put on our social media by the quarter, by the holiday, all of that was already mapped up. And let me tell you, mapped out. Let me tell you, it was highly successful. So this is not something, again, that Carol and I came up with out of a hat, pulled it out of a hat and said, let's have this topic. I did it, and it was highly effective. And so Robin's not on today, so don't nobody tell her the numbers, but we spent $500,000 in 2018 on that marketing plan. And the return on that investment was $5 million on top of the millions that she had already made. So that was a bang, bang year. And I was very proud of that work, but it started Q4. I didn't wait till January 1. So this has been great. We'll open it back up to Carol because she's going to make the announcement for next week. I'm going to check and see if anyone have no questions. Okay.
Yes, thank you so much, Pamela. And you're absolutely right. This is fourth quarter comeback. We have the opportunity right now at our fingertips to really decide, number one, decide and take action and put together a strategy and a plan for 2021 so that you can achieve all the greatness that you want to achieve and reach your success. So, Pamela and I have put together our brains, our brilliant minds, and really have been keeping our thumbs on the current situation with COVID, with elections, etc. And we made this executive decision to restructure our grand finale for Friday, November 13th. I know we had an all-day Women's Success Summit planned from 10 to 5. And in light of our numbers going up and in being really respectful for the health and safety and wellness of our attendees, our guests, and our speakers, we've reformatted the day to actually be a virtual event. So it will be Friday, November 13th from 12 to 2. And what we'd like to do is really focus on the mapping out and the strategic planning, and then open up a sort of a speaker roundtable with our experts and an open Q&A session. So this is your opportunity as the attendees to really dive into anything that you're working on regarding your business, because as we all know, there are so many different hats of being an entrepreneur, an owner of a business, from marketing to finance to your team, HR, et cetera, et cetera. So what are some of your pain points? Do you have any questions or specific areas that you need help on? Because this would be your opportunity to bring those questions to our experts, and let's dive in and help get them solved and help point you in the right direction for 2021. We're also going to do our door prizes and a bit of networking and really get to know one another. And then and we're also going to open it up for guests. So this has just been an incredible Grow Workshop series here. I'm so honored and thrilled to have been able to co-host with Pamela, and we don't want to keep this a secret. So if you have a specific friend or a colleague or someone that you think would benefit from being in this room with us, with our experts and our speakers and trainers, we would love for them to come and join us for our grand finale event. Does anyone have any questions?
I'm going to add to that, Carol. If you have staff, if you have advisory council, if you have teammates, if you have people, interns, that you would like to include and have them come, that they can get this information, and that will save you from having to relay it to them, right? So they'll be able to be included. You have your business partner, have them join you. Anyone that's going to be working with you in 2021, you need to have them on this call to help you, to get this information hot off the press, along with you. So you'll be able to go to the next level.
All right. Anyone else have any questions about next Friday?
Just to be clear, it's 12 to 2, correct?
12 to 2. Virtual, the same Zoom ID, and it'll just be a virtual event. Believe me,
guys,
I just want to say, I so want to see all of you in person. I want to give you all big hugs and just hang and talk and learn and grow together. But I think right now, in the light of everything, it's best that we all just stay safe. And yeah, I think there will be other opportunities. I'm confident for us to host some other events in the future where we can actually be together. Would be awesome.
I'm going to suggest from this, Lois and Brenda, they gave homework. So I'm going to suggest that you do that homework and come prepared. And Robin, who could not present today because she had a death in her family, she posed questions. She had questions we were going to pre-ask, and her things were, what do you need what do you need in your business right now? And so think about that. And so come with that thought and the thoughts that you need to have that right now. Because her topic was going to be think outside the box, and she wanted to answer you where you were. And so even if she's able and she, is feeling fine to come next Friday, that's something she's going to want to know. Where are you? Are you looking to expand? Think about your business. Come with that type of mind, that type of mentality. Where do you want to go? And then you can ask the questions so you can, in real time, get the information you need.
So I think in light of what Pamela just shared with us, I want to emphasize, please watch the video replays and look out for the email. I will include Lois's, Brenda's, and I think we've got a few other worksheets. I will make sure they are attachments, so print those off so that you have the materials that you need for next Friday, November 13th. All right.
Sounds great. Everyone have a great day. It's great seeing everyone.
Great seeing everyone. Take care. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. This was great.